name is Nicole Kennedy. I'm the Early Childhood Programs Coordinator with Hopewell Health Centers in Athens, Ohio. We serve the Southeast Ohio region. Our agency is a federally qualified health center, and we offer integrated care, including behavioral health, primary care, and dental services.
Hi, I'm Misty Cole. I also work at Hopewell Health Centers on the Early Childhood Programs team, and I am the Early Childhood Mental Health Training Coordinator and one of the master trainers for the state, and I also coordinate our parenting programs here at Hopewell on the early childhood team specifically. As we were really looking at the impact of COVID and what it was doing for families and children, and also all of the differences that were happening in the school systems, we really wanted to look at ways to support families and to support educators in the social emotional needs of children as they were going through these unprecedented times, being led by adults who were going through unprecedented times. So we worked on the creation of Camp Hope to talk about ways that we could meet the needs of families by mitigating risks, by building resiliency in both the family, the child, and the educator, and then providing support due to those negative social emotional impacts and that socioeconomic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we know that there's a lot of systemic inequity that's encountered in the Appalachian region anyway. And in the midst of the pandemic, we saw a real spotlight being put on some of those inequities. And we just really wanted to be able to support children, families, and educators through the transition of a really challenging school year to a summer that also proved very challenging, and then not necessarily what we expected, but then transitioning back to a school year that didn't look like we had hoped it might. That's really kind of the idea around it, was meeting those needs of families and educators and children, and doing it in a way that we could sustain the social emotional skills that we wanted children to have, but also that we knew educators and parents needed in order to support those of children.
We have a long history of serving children and families in clinic and community settings, whether it's through case management or therapy, and a long history of consulting with early educators in the school and community settings. Many of our providers have dual roles, and through this project, I feel like we found a more solidified way to merge those two roles, to really look at the whole child approach from it's happening in home and outside of school community, and then kids bring those things with them into school. So Camp Hope started in the summer as a gearing up for that school year transition. It helped the facilitators and parents identify social emotional skills to build to prepare for school, and it equipped the case managers to follow the children back into school as they normally would, but with more resources in their tool belt, whether those were tangible things like books or toys or materials that the children accessed during Camp Hope that could help in that space too, but even more abstract or perspective-based things, like these were the hurts and challenges of parent that were shared over the summer. This was this unique child's experience throughout the pandemic. So here are things, educator, that you can hold with you as you're orienting them to this setting that is your space or your classroom or virtual space. So just a better way to translate experiences, to hold voice for children who are pretty young, and even in the best of circumstances might have a hard time verbalizing that experience. And just the gratitude of facilitators and educators to have the resources, but also space to facilitate conversation.
What we've seen is the importance of that consistency. It's not that we've not known it was there, but we've seen it in a different light as we encourage educators to really meet the social emotional needs of kids, right? And to build resiliency and to identify protective factors, and being able to to work with educators on that and to support that work through these transitional periods of an academic year and through the summer and then back to another academic year, we've seen the importance in a different way of involving families and ensuring that they are equipped in the same way with protective factors and resilience and ways to support those things across the different settings that we have, whether it be home or it be in the community or it be in the school setting. So I think that while that knowledge has always been there, we're seeing it in a different way because of the impact of the pandemic. And we've been able to really focus on that in a way that we've not before. And I think that's changed a lot of things.
I think in terms of things that we can structure or control within our core team, we've looked at how we staff our experiences, whether it's with clients in an intensive service or programs that we're consulting to, which are largely school districts, early education settings, and restructuring our meetings so that more of the players are at the table to discuss what constitutes that whole child experience, whether it's on a case-by-case basis or just a collective, this is the culture that we're seeing of this district or this community that we should factor in as we're targeting this specific child or family experience. So we have some new meeting structures that are our action items to start and trial and see what agendas are helpful. And I'm guessing some more action items will present themselves as those meetings happen, like, oh, these are the other players that are still missing, or who can be the voice or advocate in the space for those who can't be at these meetings to make sure that that whole child perspective is held. And we've also done more collaboration with our educational service centers and SST partners just to keep them informed. They're aware of what we're doing on any given school year, but really just pausing to make sure there's space for collaboration to not miss some of the spots that have held gaps before.
Well, as always, I think you did a really fantastic job. I think the key takeaway from me with this whole child approach to education is in the mental health world, we've long seen the, just the core value that is part of relationships and social emotional growth and development. And we're seeing that switch to more of an education focus so that people can really understand that, these pieces are foundational for everything that comes later, including academic success, including, relationship success, including all of these pieces. And so when we're able to do what we do in mental health and integrate it so seamlessly into the world of education, I think that everyone's going to benefit moving forward. I really enjoyed the opportunity to attend the talks that were part of the community. I think that were a lot of diversified topics that were helpful. I also think there were a lot of experiences that were very different from my own, but gave me new ways to think about things and gave me new ways to think about how to engage in processes. I really just enjoyed the opportunity to hear from other people and to hear some of the ideas they had, and then, conversely, to think about how those types of things might be able to be integrated at some point into the work that we do.
The talks were helpful and validating in a lot of ways. There were different perspectives, but I felt like in all the ways that our projects were different, there were still those core similarities that just come with working with kids and families and schools. So that was really nice. I enjoyed the passion and also some of the hurts, as strange as that sounds, just again, normalizing that we're all doing really hard work and can think creatively and pull ideas from each other. And if I had advice, I would encourage people to engage in that process as much as they're able. There were times when I struggled to do that just from other priorities, but also just felt that the learning community held me there, that was okay. And I could participate and share when I was able and pull ideas for my own use. So I just appreciated the flexibility and leaning in when I could. Just be bold in your proposals and ideas from our conversations today, realizing that there's lots of room and flexibility within Seek Common Ground to expand and just pitch things without fear and just put yourself out there. There's no wrong answers or ideas, and you might be surprised at what you get in return.